If you're an orthopedic physical therapist, even if you're not certified or have gone through extensive training in manual therapy or have done fellowship and those kinds of things, maybe that's intimidating to come to a conference like AAOMPT. Honestly, I'd struggle to find another conference that could even come anywhere close to competing with the amount of orthopedic content that we can provide and develop clinicians with.
All right. I just want to welcome everyone to our AAOMPT podcast, Hands Off, Hands On. And it's my pleasure to have our conference chair, Derek Clewley, with me today. So we can talk about all things conference and hopefully give a preview to our listeners about what they might be excited to see in person in Orlando or virtual, because that is always an option as well. So thank you, Derek, for coming and joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. Isn't it weird that conferences, I guess I'm recording this just a little over a month away, which is absolutely insane how fast the time is flying, but
It
always one of
does.
my favorite times of the year because obviously with the changes of seasons and things like that, but it's also conference time. And it's a chance for us to get to meet and reconvene and such with everybody. So thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to talk a little bit about the conference today.
Well, Derek, you and I usually do this with other speakers, so it's like really weird for it just to be you and I kind of talking to each other. So I'm really grateful for it. So I do want you to go ahead and tell our listeners where conference is at this year and give us a little bit of a preview and maybe about what you're excited for.
Yeah, so conference is in Orlando. We're back in Orlando. We were in Orlando in 2019, which, believe it or not, was about 6 months before the world changed, or 4 months before the world changed with COVID. So we do get the opportunity to come back to Orlando. It's a great conference city, obviously one of the big conference cities, and we're really excited to be at the Rose and Shingle Resort. It's a resort that does sit, kind of independently off-site, but it is a beautiful spot. If you get a chance to look at it, if you go on the website for AAOMPT, and you can certainly explore some of the area that the conference actually is in. It's wonderful. I mean, it's amazing. And it's not that it's away from all the other things. You can certainly make it a Orlando type of a weekend as well, but it's also nice because it is a little bit away from everything. And so we're excited to be there. We've been planning this for a little while because it was going to be our IFOMPT host
That's right.
city. And so, when you think about planning an IFOMPT conference, you really want to showcase to the world what you're going to bring. And unfortunately, we didn't get the IFOMPT bid, but that means that we were able to still have our AAOMPT conference at this facility, which is really a world-class facility, because that's really what we were trying to do, is create that kind of an experience and an international platform. But we're going to do it here with our US folks and make it a big splash. So I think that you asked, what am I excited about? I mean, obviously, I'm excited about the location. I think that's one of the big things our conference attendees look for, is just a way to, sort of have their nerdcation away from things, and, sort of make sure that it's in a spot that is fun and nice. But I'm also excited because I think this year we have a really amazing lineup as well. And I know that you'll probably ask me some questions about that lineup, but I'm really excited about who we're bringing in. 2 international speakers, some interprofessional presenters, and so on. And so I think this conference has the opportunity and the chance to be one that, people will talk about for a long time.
So, when I look at the website, right? So we have, it looks like some similar structures. So those who've been to conference before hopefully know that we do a lot of our pre-conferences early on Wednesday and some on Thursday. Is there anything you want to highlight about those pre-conferences, or anything that our listeners should know about on those pre-conference ideas?
Yeah, I mean, the pre-cons are obviously a great chance to get a little bit more of your typical continuing education type education training. So we do have a few pre-cons. Jeremy Lewis is going to be doing some of his pre-con work, which is one of our keynote presenters. And if you know anything about Jeremy Lewis, or I should say, if you know anything about the shoulder, you probably have encountered Jeremy Lewis's work. He certainly is one of the heavy hitters in the area of shoulder rehab. So I think obviously that's a super exciting uh, time to look ahead at. We've got all kinds of different pre-con activity. We have things that are very hands-on, which I think is one of the things that makes pre-con even better is when you get a chance to, we're manual therapists by and large, and so we want to put our hands on folks. And so we do have conference pre-con planning that actually is very specific to manual manipulative therapy. And so we've got, some big con ed providers type things that are going to be presenting in those areas. But we also have pre-con that is also looking at, sort of other ways that when we think about manual therapy, like even just, motivational interviewing and other
Yeah.
sorts of skill sets and such that comes into play with the pre-cons. And then, yeah, like you said, the structure typically is by and large very similar to what we have done in the past. It seems to work really well. We want to give our those early days, those main stage presentations and such, and everybody gets kind of excited around those things. And then during the weekend, we go into our, more of our breakout sessions where attendees can sort of a la carte pick
Yeah.
out what they want to explore in terms of their professional navigation and such. And so, whatever it is that I think that you are interested in, I think you're definitely going to find it within the weekend. And if you want to make it an extended weekend, by all means, the pre-con courses will establish some of that activity.
Awesome. And then, tell us a little bit more about our traditional Fridays. So, Fridays, we typically have our keynotes on the main stage and a little bit in maybe the Saturday. So, I would love to know who are some of the lineup. I know you spoke to a little bit about the some of the international speakers, but even distinguished speakers that we have. So, can you give us a little bit of more about that lineup?
Yeah, so we're really excited. I talked a little bit earlier about how we were looking to potentially bring in an IFOMP this year. We actually have a bit of an international flavor with regards to our uh, keynote presenters. Uh, Jeremy Lewis, who I already mentioned, he is somebody I think that a lot of people are going to really enjoy hearing from. I've had a chance to talk with him in the past, and he's a really big supporter of manual therapy. He's a big supporter of kind of what that can do for the shoulder and such. And if you look at his training and sort of his legacy, which got him to where he is at now in terms of shoulder research, you'll see a lot of the threads that a lot of clinicians will see familiar in terms of training, and including training under manual therapist, including some of the big names in manual therapy, so I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy seeing him on the main stage. We've got Sarah Piva, who is at the University of Pittsburgh. Uh, she's actually, I was talking to her. It was funny because she has gone through fellowship training, and when we told her that you can still be a fellow, so she was super excited that she actually can reestablish some of those connections. But a lot of her work most recently has been in the area of NEOA and pain management and research in that area and that topic. But she's also transitioning a little bit with going back into researching some of the lumbar spine. So I think that she's going to integrate some of that. Certainly, I think looking at how manual therapy can kind of interplay into that as part of her work for sure. And then we have Nathan Hutting, who is a very large name in manual therapy across the globe. Really, I mean, he is a very involved and engaged individual with IFOMPT. He has been to AOMPT before to present, and he is always well liked and well received in the things that he has been able to offer. And to have him on the main stage is going to be a lot of fun. I think his approach and his ability to present is pretty fascinating in a very engaging sort of a way. And he'll present mostly on like neck related issues, as that is part of his expertise, I would imagine. And then I think what we're really excited about, we're getting Roger Chow to come here. Roger was going to come last year, and unfortunately, somebody as big as Roger Chow, there's something that comes up sometimes, and so we didn't get to have him here last year, but we get him this year. And if you know anything about, especially in the early 2000s, about how some of our biggest supporters for physical therapy and conservative management for a lot of the things that we see a lot of that goes back to the work that Roger Chow and his colleagues have done. And so he's a medical physician, but a big supporter of conservative care, not just physical therapy, but certainly physical therapy as part of that, especially when it comes to chronic and persistent low back pain. Roger Chow is fantastic and phenomenal. I've actually had a chance to listen to him present. Oh gosh, it's over 10 years ago now, probably 12 years ago. He presented at a conference that my former organization brought in. And he is amazing. He is so fun to listen to, very engaging, very powerful. And then when you look at the amount of work and the amount of activity that he has done in the area of conservative management for low back pain, it's impressive. And it's impressive that we're going to have him on our main stage as one of our, distinguished lecturers. And then what's really fun, I think, about all of that is probably the best part is the panel stuff, right? Where we bring them
Yep.
all in together and we just have a lot of fun with folks. And I think the attendees really like that because then it makes people a little bit more, they can connect with them a little bit better than just seeing some of the things that they're doing. They seem a lot more human, which they all are. And I think that's part of the fun is at the end of that, we get to hang out with those folks.
That is awesome. Well, it sounds like a full lineup that our attendees will benefit from hearing top-notch people both in orthopedic and orthopedic manual therapy, which I think is, that's such the nice platform that AOMPT provides is really the best of both orthopedic and orthopedic manual therapy because again, that's our investment. It's investment, that the organization puts into conference to make sure that we really do have a great lineup of speakers to hopefully keep our audience going for a full year until the next year when we get to do it all over again.
You know what? I think that you hit a little bit of the nail on the head. I struggle to think about, and maybe this is a little bit controversial in some respects, but I struggle to think about like a conference out there that actually when obviously we say manual therapy and so we think about the hands on and this podcast is hands on and hands off too, and a lot of the things that we do is hands off. But if you're an orthopedic physical therapist, even if you're not certified or have gone through extensive training in manual therapy or have done fellowship and those kinds of things, maybe that's intimidating to come to a conference like AOMPT. But honestly, like there is not a lot of conferences out there that I don't think that could actually compete with in regards to just very specific, specialized orthopedic management, whether that's manual therapy or not manual therapy. If you look at our breakout sessions across the board, there are many opportunities that if you don't have manual therapy experience, or maybe that isn't what you are most passionate about, you will find activity in there that is highly orthopedic related. And our keynotes, obviously are going to, bring in components of how manual therapy works. But I think one of the misnomers sometimes is that, oh gosh, it's manual therapy, but really it's orthopedic management, and obviously manual therapy being a component of that. But honestly, I'd struggle to find another conference that could even come anywhere close to competing with the amount of orthopedic content that we can provide and develop clinicians with.
Well, and I was looking at the lineup, Derek, who we have in the lineup in terms of even those breakout sessions, like you were talking about. What a rich group that are doing these breakout sessions that you're not only going to learn a ton from the keynotes, but even looking at some of the key topic areas that you have lined up. And what a great job the conference committee and yourself has done with this lineup this year. But, a huge variety of both in person lecture as well as hands on sessions that I think our attendees will really benefit from. I'd love to hear a little bit about the master clinician session that you might have lined up this year, because every year it's a highly attended event and people tend to love it. So tell us what's your plan this year? Who did you ask?
Yes. So we actually have Earl Petman coming in. And Earl, actually, I've got a little bit of a personal anecdote with Earl. When I graduated from PT school and started as a clinician some 20 plus years ago, I went to my very first Con Ed course. So I started work on a Monday. And then they said, oh, by the way, there's a Con Ed course that you can attend this weekend with the organization I was in, and it's a manual therapy course, and it would be good for you to do because you're just starting out, yada yada yada. I'm like, oh please, I'm hungry, feed me type thing. And so I went to this Con Ed course, and it was Earl Petman as the instructor. And so my very first introduction into post-professional education was Earl Petman. So to have him coming in, full circle is kind of a big deal. Now, I don't know if Earl actually remembers me or not. I'm sure that he doesn't. And actually, I took a few other courses from him, and really kind of helped to spur my interest in manual therapy. I think I really became passionate, and I really wanted to become focused within that. And I think that he got me excited about that, just understanding the his approaches and his passion and excitement about manual therapy was infectious. And it was infectious for all of us that were involved. And I mean, honestly, when I look back at my journey, I think that was really part of the biggest stimulation to that. So, Earl is, been around for a while. So when we talk about master clinicians and really talk about clinicians, I mean, he's truly that. Like, he's engaged in clinical practice for so many years. I don't know how many years it is, but it's more than most people are, alive and practicing. And so, he brings a wealth of information and activity to it. And so with those master clinician sessions, those are hands-on sessions, right? So those are where people are getting an opportunity and a chance to get their hands dirty, if you will. I believe, and don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to be presenting on cervicothoracic type disorders. And so, which I think is always nice to see. We spend a lot of time on the lumbar spine and low back. I love seeing, and I'm a little bit more connected with the neck. And so I love seeing that we're getting a bit of neck attention in this conference. But so I think that he'll be presenting on some hands-on techniques with that. He asked us, like, what do you want me to do? And we said, well, we do whatever you want to do, but make it hands-on and make it something that is that he's excited about. So I think that a lot of folks will get a chance to work and see things maybe a little bit differently, maybe different perspectives and approaches to hands-on management of neck pain.
Well, and I was looking at your lineup, even with that as an incredible master clinician opportunity. You have Adrian Lau, Louis Pentagura, you have Mark Shepard, you have Amy McDevitt, you have Paul Minkin. I mean, you guys have a host of people, Carol Courtney, Catherine Palta. I mean, you have just a list of really incredible people throughout this breakout stuff. So again, I guess just to say, I don't think there's anything you wouldn't walk away from. Chad Cook's listed in this group. It's an incredible lineup. So well done for that. Well done. I want to transition and talk a little bit about networking because I don't think there's any question that they couldn't come to conference and learn a ton. But I do think some newbies might be coming to conference for the first time and would love to know a little bit about maybe some of those networking opportunities. All right. So, Derek, I want to hear more about the networking opportunities at our AOMPT, especially for our new listeners, letting them know about what kind of activities that we have planned for them to meet others and socialize. And just, again, I always say sometimes it's between the sessions or after the sessions that some of the great learning actually also occurs.
No, 100%, absolutely. I want to go back though, and I'm going to
Yeah.
answer that question, but I want to also go back and, you mentioned all these big names that are going to be presenting. What I'm also excited about is the new presenters coming in and presenting education sessions. Nothing excites me more than to see, some new energy and some new blood coming into the, especially like the breakout sessions or what other types of sessions. And honestly, like as the conference committee, we were reviewing these proposals, and they are some really strong, really good proposals. So I think we have a really nice diversity of experienced presenters, seasoned presenters who really know kind of what to do and present. Then we also have this other part that is this new crop, new blood that is also, I think, going to do a really awesome job of presenting, information that maybe is a little bit different or maybe a little bit new. And so if you've been to conferences before and you see some of those names, just know that there's also some new ingredients in this conference that I think are going to make the cake rise a little differently.
I love that you said that, because I see some of these names and I'm like, I looked at their bios, because you can look it on the website. Definitely some up and coming and very, very strong clinician type. So we're super excited to meet them too.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. Great point.
Yep.
Thank you.
So to answer your question though, with regards to the networking opportunities, you're right. I mean, between the sessions, when the session ends and the hallways are busy, so much professional development I think occurs there that we don't even really we don't even know how to measure it, right? We don't even know how to unpack all of that, where people get to meet people and maybe their careers go into different trajectories and such because of the people that they are engaging with, or they become interested in something that maybe they weren't interested in before because they didn't even know much about that, and they find a passion in the hallway. So I think those kinds of things are really fascinating to me. I like walking around conference and just peering in and just seeing people having just those nice big dialogues and discussions, and seeing somebody that I know in one space of my life and I know from another space of my life, and then somehow or another they connect. And I think that happens so often, and we all have examples of that. So I think that, like you said, those things that happen between sessions are really good. But then we also have really the intentional networking opportunities where people can come in and meet and hang out and discuss things and so on. And that can be everything from the sort of, well, our final day and the big party and all of that kind of thing, but also we have chances where if you want to get out and go into Orlando a little bit more in the evening, we are going to have a sort of like a pub crawl sort of an event where people go out and sort of take off the ties and have a little bit of fun and enjoy each other, because we're all alike a lot ways, and so we all enjoy getting to hang out with our colleagues and our people who have similar passions, and that. And then we also have a lot of opportunities even within the expo and the exhibit hall. A lot of our great times occur in there when we network in that way. And then in that exhibit hall is typically also where we have or in that space, a lot of times we'll also have our first timers breakfast and some other types of activities. So there's just so much to do, whether you're a seasoned, you've been coming to AAOMPT, for a number of times, or you're coming for your first time and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do at this conference, right? I think that we've done such a great job, and to bring that back, Megan, you've done such a great job at this when you were conference chair, and then before you, the conference chair also did a great job. But it was probably 18, 20 years ago. I remember going to my first AAOMPT, and it was a good conference, and there was a lot of great material. I don't know if we had the same kind of intention about bringing people together, especially some of the newer clinicians or people that didn't know each other very well. And so I went into that conference going, I went to the education sessions, but I didn't know that, the lectures, the luncheon, the awards luncheon, right? I didn't know that was for everyone, right? And I was like, oh wait, I need to be there. I got to attend this thing now. And so there's just so many things for folks to do. Even if you're just coming by yourself, you don't know a single person at this conference, you'll find a lane and you're going to have a lot of fun at it. There's also a 5K event too, if anybody wants to get up super early in the morning and run a 5K there. I think that's Saturday morning.
You're not leading it though, Derek, right?
I think I'm running in it, but I don't know if I'm going to lead it.
Okay, for all of our listeners, please note, if you beat Derek, I will find a ticket for you for the business meeting that will provide you a beverage. And so, yeah, I think we could inspire some speakers and some listeners to have the opportunity to give you some run for your money on that 6K event. So
that puts a lot of pressure on me to make sure that we're not overfunding those tickets. If you're actually making that statement, I can't get beat by too many people.
Well, I think you better run faster, Derek. That's all right. So just in all sincerity, that is a great event. I know some people like like to have a little fitness in the morning, and so that's a great way to do it. So
Mhm.
a 5K race with Derek. That's what I just heard you say that was going to be. And you spoke a little bit about the networking events. So there's an event on Friday night, and then there's an event Saturday night, and then there's a lunch. So all of these things are covered. They don't have to pay for anything. Is that kind of what you're telling us with some of these really cool networking
Really telling you
opportunities?
that. Isn't that crazy?
That's
Like,
pretty great.
I think one of, I love, I love CSM. I mean, I think, I love CSM for a very different reason than I like AOMPT. And I know that many of us who have gone to both conferences, we describe those in very different ways. CSM is very big, it's energizing because of the size of it. It's also very intimidating. And I also know one of the things that always frustrates me is like, I don't know where to go because there's just so much. But then I also don't know, like, God, I gotta go find some food somewhere, right? And then like that becomes frustrating. And what's nice about AOMPT is that it's you walk in the doors and it's like white glove service. Everything is taken care of for you for the weekend. Like you don't have to worry about your meals, you don't have to worry about the food so much. You don't have to worry about like what you're going to be doing or activities or which events you should be at because you go to one event because that's where everybody goes to is to that event. And then that allows for you to kind of see people throughout the entire time. And that I think really enables people to build those connections very differently than you do at a larger sort of scaled conference.
Well, I think you're spot on. I think this is just such a it's such a unique conference, and I think people may not know what they don't know, right? They don't know that this is all inclusive in terms of the food pieces, especially from continental breakfast in the morning that they've had in several of these areas with exhibitors, and then by lunch, either a box lunch or the full luncheon. I mean, just so many wonderful pieces that have been really thoughtfully included. And Derek, you did a great job with the lineup. And I have to always give shout out to the staff at AOMP because really without them, this doesn't go, right? So, and they are definitely been so good about receiving questions from people and attendees. And so I know that they have been hopefully very helpful to you. And I believe that members love being able to reach out to them. So as people have questions, would you guide them to maybe call the office or reach out to the office, or what would be the best way if they have questions about maybe any of the virtual options or any of the on-site pieces?
Yeah, 100%. So call the office. The contact information is on the website there. Or, office@aomp.org is maybe the easiest for individuals to reach out and connect. And if they have questions, any kind of question they might have, I know that they can address those questions really well. And so I do encourage people who are, thinking about it, maybe have some questions about that. If they have some content related questions, things like that, I mean, certainly they can reach out to me as well. And I know the office would be able to get their contact information to me. And I've fielded some of those kinds of questions already before. And so that's perfectly fine. And that's perfectly expected as well.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, Derek, I want to be mindful of everyone's time, and I so appreciate the opportunity to just have some candid conversation with you about all things AOMP conference, and hopefully a few listeners who hadn't known about all the different pieces and parts, one about conference and who you're bringing to the main stage, hopefully learned a few things. But again, we always have to be appreciative of the people giving up so much time, energy, and effort to do this work, and that certainly includes you and the staff. So thank you so much for doing that work on the behalf of our profession, right? Really advancing our knowledge helps our patients. And if we really are doing that work, we have to be indebted to the people who put the work in to getting this lineup and getting the conference ready to go. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And also, you mentioned it already too. The conference committee earlier, they put in a lot of work as well, and especially this year. Just to kind of come back around to that, we're gonna have a great conference because we had a very large number of submissions. It was actually a lot of work that the conference committee went through to work through and get, sort of a conference that we felt was going to be diverse enough in experiences and that kind of thing. And so I really want to give them props as well, as that they work really hard.
Absolutely, I do. Well, I do. Again, I look so forward to seeing you and any of the listeners who are going to join us in Orlando for our conference. I cannot wait to see people. Such a lineup, such a great energy that always comes. Virtual options are definitely available too. And I thought that the lineup looked really great, and it highlighted on the website at Schedule at a Glance some of the virtual pieces too. So that way people could kind of know what are they seeing and what's the bang for the buck. If they can't make it down, we still welcome them in that virtual sense too. So, hopefully, if people have questions about virtual elements, they certainly should reach out. I know some people are, am I really going to get the quality and the amount for my money? And the answer is, Derek, what's your answer?
Oh, 100% they will. They will get actually all of the look on the website, and you'll find that you'll see a lot of the information. You won't be able to go to the pub crawl with us in Orlando, but you're going to get everything else as well, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Derek, thank you so much for making time today. I cannot wait to see you and see our audience there. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Thank you.